E3 2019 is officially wrapped up. We have a rough outline for what the next year in gaming looks like. And as with every year, there was a lot of stuff shown, announced, gameplay reveals, all that stuff, a new console from Microsoft. This list probably could have been bigger than 5, but I wanted to whittle it down, and to be completely honest, most of the stuff shown at E3 I'm neutral on right now. So here are the 5 things that really caught my eye at E3 2019. A Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch remaster was not something I was expecting to see at E3. In fact, I wasn't really expecting this at all to ever happen. And beyond that, not only is it a remaster, but it's a remaster that's also coming out on Switch. Ni no Kuni is a JRPG developed by Level 5 with story and cutscene work done by Studio Ghibli. Level 5 is known for making these really rich and deep Japanese RPGs, and of course Studio Ghibli is known for making some of the most popular animated films out of Japan. Their work is really whimsical and especially endearing. I'm a big fan of Studio Ghibli films. I even have a Totoro tattoo on my arm. And I loved Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. I played a ton of it. I think I played through the entirety of the game twice, which is roughly a 70 to 80 hour experience, depending how much time you spend grinding and leveling up your characters. And speaking of gameplay, it's essentially an action RPG with tactical elements where you're sort of like a commander controlling creatures on the battlefield. So you're running around in real time in these combat arenas, telling your creatures what to do, and you also have access to your own attacks and magic. And throughout the game, you capture these creatures in a similar way to Dragon Warrior Monsters, if you ever played that. You capture them by taming them. It's a really interesting system, and it worked really well in this game. The name Ni no Kuni might be familiar to you. There was a sequel that came out recently for the PS4. And while the art style is similar, Studio Ghibli was not involved, so it lost a bit of the magic from the first game. And they added a bunch of mechanics that I felt were unnecessary or boring. They actually reworked the entirety of the game. It was very different. I got about halfway through Ni no Kuni 2 and lost interest. But I'm very glad that I'm getting another excuse to play through the first one, and I'm definitely going to pick it up on Switch. Sticking with the same trend of a Japanese RPG maker working with a master of world building, Elden Ring was confirmed during the Microsoft press conference. And Elden Ring is a collaboration between Dark Souls developer From Software and Game of Thrones writer George R.R. Martin. Seems like a match made in dark fantasy heaven, right? And while so during the conference they only showed a cinematic trailer, subsequent interviews with game director Hidetaka Miyazaki revealed that the game will be very similar to Dark Souls. You can create a character, it contains the same type of RPG character building, and it's also described as being a bit more open world. So not only am I excited that this is a collaboration between two really fantastic world builders, but I'm also just really excited to play another experience like Dark Souls. From Software's last game, Sekiro, was really good, but it was a departure from the formula that they've been working on for quite a while now. So adding such a great imagination like George R.R. Martin just is icing on the cake. The Bethesda press conference this year was probably the weakest of the bunch. They spent some of the time apologizing for recent mistakes, a la Fallout 76, showing some poorly received mobile games, and what I think is the biggest slight, apparently forgetting all about Elder Scrolls Legends on the Nintendo Switch. Where is it? I want to know. Why isn't anyone talking about it? This was announced at E3 2018, and since then there's been zero news. That's super disheartening, and I honestly at this point think it's just not coming out. There was, however, a game that captured my attention from this press conference, and that was Deathloop. It's the next game from Arcane Studios, who last made the Dishonored series for Bethesda. And like Elden Ring, we only saw a cinematic trailer that gave some story hints. It appears that there are two assassins locked in a struggle to kill one another, and perhaps there's also a time loop involved. The setting is a dystopian city of sorts. It absolutely fits with Arcane's bleak retro future designs. And if the gameplay is as smooth and responsive as the Dishonored series, this will be a day one buy for me, absolutely. So this one isn't a game, but it's definitely one of the coolest announcements from this year. For a long time, Banjo has been rumored as a Smash Fighter edition. It's been talked about endlessly online, so much so that it's almost like it was willed into existence. The only question now is how many Banjo mains will there be at the end of the year? I very much could be one. The hero from Dragon Quest was also announced as a playable fighter in the near future, but Banjo really stole the show. So a rumor floating around before E3 was that Ubisoft's new Watch Dogs game would let you play as any NPC that you could encounter. This turned out to be more or less true, as explained during the extensive gameplay that was shown during the press conference. In the game, you recruit NPCs to join you in your campaign against the technologically advanced authoritarian government. In this case, it's Britain. And the characters that you recruit to join you each have their own skills and backgrounds. They're even described as all having unique cutscenes that explain their origin, but I think that this is a bit of an exaggeration. I imagine that there is probably a large pool of cutscenes and origins that they can draw from for each character. And so I'm guessing that when you recruit one, it kind of jams a couple of them together and creates a unique story for that character. These are the kind of things I was thinking about during the conference and after. It was actually the game that was shown where I had the most questions and the most interest. Because if it works, it could turn out to be a really, really fun and interesting game. But we know in the past that Ubisoft has exaggerated it a lot during their press conferences. They've shown stuff that didn't end up being in the final game. And this is especially true with Watch Dogs. So I'm reserving myself. I do think this was the game that I was most excited about, but I do have that thought in the back of my head. I know I've been down this road. Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2, while being good games, they're genuinely good. They weren't true to their E3 shown counterparts. So those are the 5 things that really captured my attention the most. I'm interested to know what were your favorite 5 things. Let me know down in the comments. I'm interested to hear. I have one more E3 focus video coming out this week, and that's about Pokemon Sword and Shield. A lot of controversy right now about that game. Some of it I buy into, some of it I don't. That video will be out this week later, and I will catch you in the next one.